curriculum, and I think there are a lot of people that don't know a lot about core curriculum.
Yeah, but it's kind of state levels, and it's states working. So if you have a student from New York that comes to the state of Utah, the teacher can pick right up what they were teaching. But it's
okay, was that Common Core Curriculum or Common Core Standards?
Common Core Curriculum.
Okay, because there's a big difference between Common Core Curriculum and Common Core Standards.
And I like that because it's not the federal government telling them what they need to do. It's states working together. And
but
teachers.
It's getting a pretty bad rep because Department of Education is trying to get their hands in what's going on, and they're trying to start incentivizing certain things for that. You know, Common Core Standard was actually led by Utah. Utah was one of the leading places. Again, to me, I'm about just making sure that the decision is made on a more local level. If I can make, again, people bigger, Washington smaller, then I've done my job.
Fundraising is very critical in terms of this election. How are you going to raise enough funds to beat your opponent?
Okay, well, I've raised over $100,000 since January. I'm raising money faster than anybody else in this campaign.
Now, Wimmer said just the opposite. Wimmer says he's raised the most.
He raised the most, but over 3 years. He's been running for, I know you're laughing, he's been running for a long time. I mean, give me 3 years. We don't have 3 years. I'm doing everything I can. So we are raising money. I have no doubts that we will continue to raise money, and we're doing really well. And our momentum is growing. No matter what anybody tells you, mark my words, this campaign is leading. If anybody says anything differently, say it.
Federally operated lands in our state, there's been an effort now, and I think the governor signed a bill as such. Mm-hmm. Is that going to go anywhere? Where do you think?
Well, I think it'll go somewhere if you have a united congressional delegation. I mean, Jim Matheson's heart's not in it.
Well,
it's, you know, I think
he just designated brand new wilderness in our canyons. Isn't that nice? Well, he put forth the bill to designate more wilderness in our canyons.
Well, look at the resources we could free up if they return those lands back to the state, which they should do.
Education from Sitla land, we can free up even resources, energy resources. Exactly. We can, yes, I believe that Utah land should be under Utah control. That's what
Well, that's constitutionally sound. That was the way it's supposed to be when we become a state. They were supposed to turn those lands back to the state, and they never did.
We need a united congressional delegation. You realize here, we've got 4 seats, right? If Jim Matheson gets elected, how many seats do we have? 2. You're trying to figure out how that works. Yeah. Cancels out another one, 2. Especially on this issue. Okay, we'll take about 2 more, and then we're.
So then who would you like to see in the Senate race? Who would you prefer to work for? Hatch? Work with Hatch? It's hard. Lillianquist.
Okay. I will work with either candidate. I will work with either one. That's up to you. You're the state delegate. You have to put up the person that you believe is going to do the best job. There are things I can go in and talk about that I liked or disliked with each candidate. We can do that. If you'd like to do that, we can do that. I mean, I'm not a fan of TARP. You know, there are a couple of things I'm not a fan of. I think it's up to you. You've got to weigh the benefits of, you know, the finance chair with the benefits of somebody new that's going in, that's got a lot of energy, that's got, you know, some. That's up to you. But I'm telling you right now, I'm the person that you're going to elect to actually get things done, and either one, I'll still be able to do my job with either one. And it's my job to work with whoever you send.
Can you talk about the difference? You mentioned a balanced budget amendment a little while ago. Talk about the difference between a budget and the appropriations that actually fund things. I mean, the budget, I've been looking into this just a little bit, and it just seems like the budget's a good idea, and then the appropriations are what actually gets spent. So can you talk about the difference there and how a balanced budget amendment works with the actual appropriations bills that go out, and if, how they work together?
Okay, so the way that I can talk about it is, for instance, you take it kind of like you've got your budget that you deal with. That's the money that you put, that you say, we're going to be spending this much on this, we're going to be spending this much. So you've got the budget where you say, we're going to spend this much on healthcare, we're going to spend this much on this. Appropriations is the actual amount within that. So you say, I'm going to take within the budget, I'm going to appropriate this amount to go into this program. I'm going to take this amount and go into this program. You see, if you take the appropriations and the programs and you shrink the program, then you in essence shrink the budget that would go into that. You've got to shrink the budget though, or else you can take a big chunk and put into a small program. Does that make sense? So one is what you would keep. For instance, you say, I'm going to put money aside for a house, right? This amount is going to put aside. And then you say, I'm going to take this amount, I'm going to put it in my flooring. And this amount, I'm going to put it in this. And this amount, I'm going to put it in that. That's the best analogy I can use. Did you have any ideas?
Well, I had a follow-up, but I'm trying to think of how to phrase it. So go on, and I'll come back to it.
One more question, and then we'll close. You got one? Okay, I'm looking around to see if it...
Well, I keep saying to myself, time and time again, it's the economy, stupid. Okay, I say that to myself. When you go to Congress, your first year there, they're going to ask you to vote on raising the spending cap. Are you going to vote no?
They're not going to ask me. They should know I'm going in. They're not asking me to raise it. When you say you need to cut, that's exactly what we're going to do. We've got to cut. We've got to cut spending. Really? You're asking me to raise the credit card bill on the thing that I'm going to Washington to try and pull back.
All right. If we don't raise the spending cap, then there's a chance that we go into default.
If we don't stop, I'd rather say if we don't stop spending, there's a chance we go into default.
I agree, but we got to get enough people together in Washington. I don't see it.
Change the way we deliver the message.
All right.
Change the way we deliver the message to the American people. Say, guess what? Credit cards at its limit. We need your help. We've got to start cutting spending. They're not giving you any more. What happens in our home when we cannot get any more, we can't get, American Express to give us a higher credit line?
What's the vehicle to get that message to the people?
I am.
Well,
I'm the vehicle.
You don't have a voice like the President of the United States. I mean,
Sure, she's
how-
going to go to him. She's going to go to
Give
him.
her a couple of years.
Get this message out to the people. How are you going to do that?
You have to understand, people are going to pay attention to us.
Well, I hope
You
so.
have to understand, people will pay attention to us. We're doing something very special here in Utah.
You're balancing budgets.
People will pay attention to us. And
The
when that
media's-
mic's in front,
The media's so biased, though.
when I march in front, yeah, the media is biased, but it's okay. The media is, that's perfectly fine. The media can't change what I'm saying on TV. They can't change. They might be able to print things. They might be able to say, what she meant by that is she's soft on, what she meant by that phrase is she's soft on, My policies will speak for themselves. The things that I've done will speak for themselves. I'm a pretty tough cookie. We'll get those things across, but people will start paying attention, and when they do pay attention,
I hope so.
we're going to have to start getting that message. We have to shift the way we deliver the message. Go ahead.
Just a quickie. Suppose you get elected every time you run. How many times is that?
Well, it's certainly not going to be any more than 4. I hesitate to even say that. I have a life that I want to live. Again, this is not something, I'll close with that statement. Guys, this is not something that I said, when I grow up, I want to go play with the Sharks in Washington. It's not what I said I wanted to do. I have a great life here. I've got a wonderful husband and a great family. The only thing that would pull me away from that is to try and protect that life, protect some of those opportunities for those children who would never suspect any adult of doing them any harm. Do you realize this? I don't need a job. My husband provides a great living for us. The only thing that would again, I feel like I know that I can make a difference. I know I can. So if I can make a difference, I not only should do it, but it's my obligation to do it.
What do you feel about a guaranteed retirement? You serve 2 years to get a guaranteed retirement for the rest of your life.
Oh, that's not okay.
Don't you
It's
think
certainly
we should
not
cut all
okay.
those off?
We're paying for that right now.
I
It's
know.
paid for on the backs of the private sector that don't get anything near. The problem is, you realize what we've done. We keep sending career politicians to Washington.
Well,
We keep doing the same thing. We send people to Washington that are going there to work and provide for their families. My husband's got 2 objectives when he goes to his job: to make money for his company, make money for the family,
Don't get fired.
and try not to get fired. Amen, that's a good one, I'm gonna use that one. And try not to get fired. And work like the Dickens to try not to get fired. That's exactly what we're sending to Washington. Why not try and send somebody who doesn't really need a job, doesn't need the pension, trying to change something because she realizes that there are some major problems and she can actually do something about it, instead of continuing to do the same thing over and over again.
That's the way our
Once-
forefathers intended it.
Once that's the way they intended it to be.
That's right. Go back to the farm after you're done.
I'm glad you said that, because I'm trying to make this message resonate. You have the obligation, a strong obligation of picking between candidates. You have that obligation. You have to start looking, not just the policies, but the motivations that get them there, what that looks like, who's going for a career, who's going because they want to be able to do this for a job, who's going to actually make a difference. You have to ask yourself that question. And then you have to ask yourself questions of who can actually get there, and when they do, who can make the biggest changes. If that's not me, don't elect me and I'll stay home. But I'll guarantee you right now, you elect any of the others, one, they're not going to beat Matheson, right, Kevin? And that's it.
So how are you going to beat Matheson?
We talked about how I'm going to beat Matheson. Kevin's got it on tape. He's going to show Matheson tonight, so she's got your number.
Look out.
He's not going to be able to stop. But we talked about this.
No, but in terms of the independents and those other people that are the swing votes, how are you going to pick those people up?
Because I am focused on the same thing we're all focused on, and that is getting our economy back in order. You just, right?
Yeah, I'm so, how do I work against, I'm a delegate, how do I work against it?
You see what I'm saying? I'm not polarizing. I've never been polarizing. I'm not the one, again, taking a 2x4 to Washington.
Vote for the other guy that's Democrat.
I don't have entities behind me that are polarizing
There's not
either.
another one.
I don't have entities. You realize that I've got the help of people like Paul Ryan helped me, Kevin McCarthy, Eric Cantor, Peter Roska, because they're saying, Mia, we need your help to change the face of the party. We've got to change the way people think about that, because we're getting a bad rap. We need some help. I think that there are people, I mean, we've got some issues within our party. You know that. I know that. We've got some major issues within our party,
It's gotta be united.
right?
Yeah, the evangelicals and the Tea Party people, that's the major problem.
But we've got problems within our party. I'm not polarizing. I'm not here to offend anybody, and I'm trying to say again, if you want somebody that's going to focus on trying to remodel the kitchen while the house is on fire, I'm not your candidate. I'm trying to put out some fires. So, that being said, with your help, I know we can make a difference. With your support, we will beat Jim Matheson. And I can tell you this, again. My dad said to me that I wasn't to be a burden to society. The greatest fear I have is for my daughter to come to me and say, Mom, I've done everything you asked me to do.